All right, fifth grade. Happy Monday. We are on the last week of our old distance learning schedule. All right. We are also in the last week of March 2021. So what I wanted to do today is, if we think back to the beginning of March, we learned about some influential women because this is Women's History Month in March. And so what I wanted to do today is I wanted to kind of talk about how can we celebrate Women's History Month all year long. All right. How can we get out of just doing it for a little bit of time, like a month, and how can we really celebrate women throughout the entire year? We talked about the same thing when we talked about Black History Month in February. How could we celebrate Black history all year long? Today, I want to talk about women's history all year long. Okay. So first thing, just so you know, we're going to be typing today. Everything that I type, you should be typing too. All right. So first thing that I wanted to talk about today, why we need to celebrate women. So it seems obvious. All right, it seems obvious. Why do we need to celebrate women? Because women are obviously important, right? We all have women in our lives. Maybe you are a young woman yourself. It's obvious why we need to celebrate women. But what I wanted to do on this slide right here is I wanted to tell you a few things that are true about our world. Okay? Some things that might make you bummed out, some things that are sad. But I wanted to just kind of show you a few things that are true, to kind of get you thinking about the fact that, we're not there yet. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and, it's our job to get the work done to make sure that women are treated as well and equally as men. Okay, so let's start. So why we need to celebrate women, here we go. Number one, so in our world, when people go to work, all right, women make only 65% to 70%. 70% of the money that men make. Okay, now I know that's kind of confusing, but here's what that means. Okay, if at the very, very end of the day, say that for the work that I do, I got paid $100. Okay, that means that here in the world, not for every job, but for a lot of different places, a lot of different jobs, if there's a woman who does the exact same thing that I do, works the same hours, does the same job, everything, they would only make $65 or $70, whereas I got paid $100. Okay, so the reason for that, don't know. It's just that's the way that it is, and it's up to us to change that. Okay, so we got to fight and make sure that those are things that get changed. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing here, so there are 195 countries in our world. So we are the United States. We are one country, but there are 194 others. And in the world, only 21 of them have women leaders. Okay, so that doesn't make sense, right? If there are, there are a lot of people in the world. If half of the people in the world are women, then you would expect that half of the leaders in the world are women too. But 195 countries, if half of them were women, it would be about, I think 92 countries would have female leaders, but it's only 21. It's very far away. And so that is very unequal as well. Okay. And this last one here is kind of an interesting one. It just shows kind of a different view at the inequalities. So women are more likely to get hurt in car accidents because cars are designed with men in mind. Okay, so what that means is that when there are engineers who create cars, they're trying to make them safe. They're trying to make them as good as they possibly can be. Those people that are creating them are usually keeping men in mind. Who is going to be sitting in this car? What are they going to be What do they look like? What will they weigh? Is their shape? All of that. It's usually with men in mind. And so because of that, women are actually more likely to get hurt in car accidents because the cars aren't designed for them, for their safety. Okay? Now, that does not mean that if you get in a car and you are a young woman that you should be worried. Okay? That's not what I'm saying. But that is something that is true, is that women are more likely to get hurt if there's a car accident, just because cars are designed with men in mind. Okay? But I don't want you to think that, you're in danger because you're in a car. Okay? So, next slide here. What are some things that we can do now? Okay, how can we celebrate women? Knowing the things that I just said, that we have just talked about, what can we do to celebrate women? Okay, first thing, something that we've talked about before: visit a store or a restaurant owned by a woman. Okay, we talked about how women make less money than men by doing the exact same job, and so it's important for us to go to restaurants or stores that are owned by women to make sure that they can try to make up some of that money that they may be losing. Okay. Second thing, something that we did earlier this month, that is study influential women. Okay, so there are a lot of women in history that have done a lot of work to make the world a better place, and it's our job to keep their stories alive and to study those people. Okay. We will have a lot of books in the classroom that have to do with influential women, and so if you are coming back to school, something that you can check out. Okay, last, teach people about the inequalities. Okay, so inequalities, and I didn't mean to say people, I meant to say in our world. There we go. Looks a little goofy. There you go. In our world. Okay, so inequalities means things that are not equal. Okay, there are things that are going on in our world, that there are things that are just not equal for everyone. Okay, in one way, we looked at how it is unequal for women and men. Right, they're not treated the exact same. Okay, so one thing that we can do is to remind people, teach people about the inequalities in our world. So some of the things that we talked about here, these are important, right? I mean, we're talking about people's livelihoods, their careers, and how they make money in their jobs, right? We're talking about the leaders of our countries. We're talking about safety. These are very important things, and so it is our job to teach people and tell them about all of these things that aren't right, right? It would not be very hard to just kind of change some of these things, but it is still very challenging to do. So it is our job to teach people about these inequalities and make sure that we do everything that we can to change them. Okay? So that is, ways that we can celebrate Women's History Month all year long. I hope that you learned some things. I hope that when we had those essays earlier in March, I hope that you learned about a very influential woman. Hopefully they inspired you in some way, and hope that, especially after today, you have kind of an idea of things that you can do to help celebrate women's history and to, help make positive change in the world. Okay? So, we have office hours today at 10:05. I will either see you then, or I will see you during our Google Meet times. All right? See you then.